So, some people are worried about GTA 6 being overhyped or even comparing it to a potential cyberpunk situation, launching as a broken mess. Here's my take on that. Yeah, but come on, this is Rockstar we're talking about. That's never been their story. Imagine if CD Projekt Red had 10 Witcher games under their belt and spent a decade perfecting Witcher 11. That's basically what Rockstar has done with GTA. Every game they've released has raised the bar. The hype isn't just deserved, it's earned. On the flip side, CD Projekt was a smaller studio that bit off way more than they could chew with Cyberpunk. They had no experience in the FPS or sci-fi genre and were way too ambitious for their size. Rockstar, though, they're synonymous with GTA and open-world excellence. There's no comparison. Now, for the other concern I keep hearing, what if it's boring? Some people even bring up RDR2, saying it felt boring. Here's my take on that. Look, the thing about Red Dead Redemption 2 is that, sure, it can give off a slow burn vibe at first, and it's not without pacing issues. But the magic of that game is when you hit that 2-hour mark. You stop noticing time. Suddenly, you're 5 hours in, completely immersed, and you've forgotten that it's just a game. If Rockstar can deliver that level of immersion with RDR2 and pair it with the fast-paced chaos of GTA, I think we're in for something unforgettable. So yeah, the hype is real and deserved. Here's the gist of what's going on. A lot of people are hoping that we'll see a second GTA 6 trailer during PlayStation's rumored 30th anniversary event on December 3rd. Meanwhile, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, is buzzing with speculation that something could drop even earlier, like November 29th. Now, I'm leaning more towards the Game Awards for a big GTA 6 reveal. Why? Well, the Game Awards is the biggest gaming event of the year, and they've got a category for Most Anticipated Game or something similar. Imagine this. They don't even announce GTA 6 as a nominee or winner during the show. The whole thing wraps up, the stage goes dark, the screen fades to black, and then bam, the GTA 6 logo pops up. A gameplay trailer starts rolling, and the crowd loses its mind. People go wild, social media explodes, and grandparents are telling their grandkids, I've waited 35 years for this moment. It'd be absolutely legendary. That's why I think Rockstar might hold off until the Game Awards for maximum impact. Sure, I know everyone wants the trailer yesterday, but think about it. 5 years from now, people could look back and say, the 2024 Game Awards was the moment that changed gaming history. Now, about December 3rd, there's a lot of buzz about a PlayStation event happening on that day to celebrate the brand's 30th anniversary. Sony hasn't confirmed anything, but speculation is ramping up. Industry journalist Jeff Grub says he hasn't heard about any showcase or state of play for December. On Twitter, Bill Kuhn, a self-proclaimed private investigator who contributes to the French outlet D-Labs magazine, neither confirmed nor denied the existence of a PlayStation event that will take place next month. Apparently, there's even a subtle hint in a recent PlayStation ad for their Play Has No Limits campaign. The ad shows a digital train timetable with the numbers 03, 12, and 2024, which people are taking as a tease for December 3rd. Sony has done December showcases before, but the last one was back in 2019, when they first introduced the State of Play series. And of course, the Game Awards on December 12th is also set to be packed with announcements. Past shows have revealed massive titles like Death Stranding 2, Armored Core 6, and Hades 2, so it wouldn't be a surprise if we got even more big reveals this year. What do you think? Would you rather see GTA 6 make a splash at the Game Awards? Or are you hoping for an earlier reveal with PlayStation's event? Moving on to a more disappointing story, or is it? The jury's still out on this update. So, here's an update about that possible God of War tease.
2 weeks are going to be chock full of announcements and all kinds of good stuff. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk to you soon, boy.
We talked yesterday about how it seemed like a new God of War might be coming soon. Well, Christopher Judge, the voice of Kratos, has clarified things on X, formerly Twitter, and it's not what we thought. Here's what happened. Judge recently posted a TikTok saying, the next 2 weeks will be chock full of announcements and all kinds of good stuff. He ended it with the iconic boy, which of course immediately got fans buzzing. Since his timeline perfectly matched PlayStation's 30th anniversary, people started speculating that some kind of God of War news, like a trilogy remaster or even a new game, might be on the horizon. This idea wasn't totally out of nowhere either. Earlier this year, there were rumors about a God of War trilogy remaster being in the works. Judge's comment lined up so well with those rumors that fans started connecting the dots and thinking we'd get an announcement during the rumored anniversary showcase. But Judge shut those rumors down pretty quickly on X. He posted, "Absolutely not true. You can't tease something you know nothing about. I will be making announcements in the near future, but I can guarantee none of them will be about our beloved God of War. I'm waiting for updates just like everyone else. Now, whether or not PlayStation asked him to backtrack or he just wanted to clear the air, we don't really know. Some fans think his denial might even be part of keeping an announcement under wraps. For now, though, it looks like there's nothing God of War related on the immediate horizon. But who knows what the next few weeks could bring? What do you think? Could there still be a surprise God of War reveal? Let me know your thoughts. Okay, so get this. Sony might be buying Kadokawa, the parent company of Elden Ring's developer, From Software. That's right, the studio behind iconic games like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, and of course Bloodborne. If this deal goes through, Sony could end up with a controlling interest in From Software. And naturally, everyone's buzzing about what that could mean, like maybe finally a Bloodborne remaster. Here's the backstory. Reuters reported that Sony has sent Kadokawa an offer to buy shares, though the deal isn't finalized yet. Kadokawa confirmed the news, saying they've received Sony's proposal but haven't made a decision. For context, Kadokawa currently owns 70% of From Software, while Sony already has a 14% stake. If Sony seals this deal, they'd have the majority and could make From Software more of a PlayStation-first studio. Now, why would Sony want this? It's part of their broader strategy to gobble up valuable IPs and characters. They've been eyeing Kadokawa not just for From Software, but for other assets like hit manga and anime franchises, like Delicious in Dungeon, now a Netflix series. Plus, Sony's been talking about creating lovable characters for their ecosystem, and while Elden Ring might not scream cute and cuddly, it's packed with iconic designs and stories people adore. Here's the wild part. This news has already sent Kadokawa's market value soaring to over $3.6 billion, which is around what Sony paid for Bungie back in 2022. But if you're thinking that bigger budgets mean better games, well, just look at how rocky things have been for Bungie post-Sony buyout. Fans are understandably concerned about what this could mean for From Software's creative freedom. And then there's the whole exclusivity question. Sony's CEO recently said they're focusing more on bringing content to PCs, but if From Software falls under their umbrella, does that mean future titles could be PlayStation first or even exclusive? On top of all that, Kadokawa has had its fair share of challenges, like being hit by a massive ransomware attack earlier this year. Some are wondering if that's nudging them toward selling off assets like From Software. So, here's the big question. If Sony does acquire From Software, would that be good news for the studio and its fans? Or would it risk losing what makes them so special? And seriously, do you think this is the only way we'll finally get that Bloodborne remaster? Here's where it gets spicy. If this deal goes through, studios like Spike Chunsoft and Acquire might not be working with Nintendo anymore. That could mean no more Pokemon Mystery Dungeon from Chunsoft or Mario and Luigi games from Acquire. Ouch. Take Mario and Luigi. Brothership. If Acquire gets pulled into the PlayStation Studios ecosystem, Nintendo might have to find a new developer for future titles. Same for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Sure, Sony could let these collaborations continue, but let's be real. They'll probably want these studios focused on PlayStation exclusive projects. What's next? If this acquisition happens, we're talking about a seismic shift in the gaming landscape. I'm sure you didn't expect Nintendo to get dragged into this, right? Alright, here's something exciting for Naughty Dog fans. Troy Baker, one of the biggest names in video game voice acting, is officially set to work on Neil Druckmann's next project at Naughty Dog. If you've played The Last of Us, you know Troy's unforgettable performance as Joel, and it looks like his collaboration with Naughty Dog isn't slowing down anytime soon. In a recent interview with GQ, Baker confirmed that he's gearing up to return for Druckmann's next venture. The project is still a mystery, but Neil Druckmann himself had this to say about Baker. "In a heartbeat, I would always work with Troy." That's a strong endorsement, and it's clear that this dynamic duo has plenty more storytelling magic to share. It's been a bit of a quieter year for Baker, at least compared to his usual schedule, but he's still been keeping busy. He's got a leading role in the upcoming Indiana Jones: The Great Circle, set to release on December 6th. Oh, and let's not forget his chilling take as the Joker in Arkham Shadow. Interestingly, Baker's talents aren't just limited to games. Earlier this year, he voiced James Cox in an audiobook adaptation of Grand Theft AI, a cyberpunk novel that dives deep into some futuristic themes. Looking ahead, Baker is also set to appear in Judas, Ken Levine's long-awaited spiritual successor to BioShock, which is slated for a 2025 release. As for Neil Druckmann's next project, the details are still under wraps, but with Troy Baker on board, expectations are already sky high. What do you think they're cooking up this time? A new IP? Another The Last of Us chapter? Or maybe even something entirely unexpected? Let's hear your theories. Here's something interesting to think about. Ghost of Yotei might be making a major departure from the stance-based combat we all loved in Ghost of Tsushima. It looks like this change has a lot to do with the time period the sequel is set in, the Edo period, which marked a significant shift in samurai traditions. In Ghost of Tsushima, Tsushima, samurai were all about battle and military service, sticking closely to those traditional warrior roles. But by the Edo period, large-scale warfare had mostly disappeared. This meant samurai had to pivot. Many became bureaucrats, administrators, teachers, or scholars. Some even managed land and resources for their lords. On the flip side, many struggled financially, relying on stipends and picking up side jobs. Some even became ronin, samurai without masters. And that brings us to Atsu, the main character in Ghost of Yotei. At first glance, she seems to be a ronin, which means her roots may be samurai, but her traditions? Not so much. Unlike Jin, Atsu likely hasn't had access to the same fighting techniques Jin grew up with. Instead, her combat style might reflect her personal journey, whether that's revenge, survival, or something else entirely. This could mean we're in for a totally new combat system. If Atsu isn't tied to the samurai code or Jin's stances, she might rely on her own skills or a more unconventional fighting approach. Sucker Punch could take this as an opportunity to innovate and make Ghost of Yotei feel fresh and different, especially with the Edo period offering such a rich backdrop for new ideas. Of course, Jin's stances were such a big part of Ghost of Tsushima's identity, so it's bittersweet to imagine leaving them behind. But this change might make sense both for the story and gameplay. Do you think moving away from stance-based combat is the right call, or will you miss it too much? Okay, so here's the deal. Ubisoft's legal issues just keep stacking up, and now, get this, it's their own employees taking them to court. Isn't that kind of wild? So apparently the unions for Ubisoft Barcelona's AAA and mobile teams are suing them because of this whole return to office thing. And according to gamesindustry.biz, these unions are saying, hey, we need protections for remote work back, and they want Ubisoft to roll back the policy changes. So what's actually going on? Okay, so back in September, Ubisoft was like, hey, everyone's got to be in the office at least 3 days a week now. And they said it's to, boost creativity and teamwork, which, okay, sure, makes sense on paper, right? But here's the thing. Before this, employees could work from home up to 60% of the time. Some even had full-time remote agreements. Now, Ubisoft's saying, nope, no more of that. And everyone has to follow this new rule. But here's the kicker. Apparently their offices aren't even ready to handle all these people coming back at once. I don't know, isn't that just poor planning? The unions are saying, it all happened suddenly and without transparency, which, yeah, sounds super frustrating. What's even more awkward is that the unions were apparently open to talking it out. But Ubisoft didn't send over a proposal before this lawsuit dropped on October 14th. So now they're demanding Ubisoft rethink this whole approach and actually listen to their employees about remote work. So now Ubisoft's stuck, literally and figuratively, trying to figure this out. It's not like they don't already have a ton of other problems. Delayed games, canceled projects, all that drama with leadership. And, I mean, this is something other studios are probably watching closely too, because everyone's trying to figure out what to do about remote work. But yeah, what do you think? Should Ubisoft stick to their guns or listen to the employees and find a middle ground? And honestly, do you think other studios might end up in the same boat? Let me know what you think. All right, so here's my take on this whole Ubisoft lawsuit thing. And just to be clear, this isn't me defending Ubisoft or anything like that. It's more about game development in general. Now, I'm not a game developer or a programmer or anything, but maybe one of you reading this is, so feel free to jump in and correct me or share your perspective. Anyway, here's how I see it. There's definitely a solid argument for having game devs, level designers and animators, working in the same space, especially in a creative field like gaming, where everything is so collaborative and visual. When everyone's in the same office, it's just easier for those spur-of-the-moment convos to happen. If a level designer notices something weird with how an animation interacts with the game environment, they can literally just walk over to the animator's desk and be like, hey, check this out. Can we fix it? Boom. Problem solved. No emails, no Slack messages, no waiting for a Zoom call or whatever. Plus, game development is super hands-on and visual. Being in the same space means you can sketch stuff out on a whiteboard together, share screens without worrying about lag, and just, bounce ideas back and forth in real time. It's just quicker and feels more natural than working remotely sometimes. Oh, and let's not forget the vibe. Being around your coworkers during breaks or over lunch can spark random, awesome ideas that might not happen when you're all working from home. But remote work isn't trash. And let's be real, some people just focus better at home. Less office noise, fewer interruptions. It can actually be more productive for certain folks. Honestly, it feels like it depends on the team and the studio. Some devs thrive on that in-person energy, while others do better with the flexibility of remote work. If you ask me, a hybrid approach might be the sweet spot. What do you think? Should game development, go back to being fully in office? Or is remote work here to stay? If you've got experience in the industry, I'd seriously love to hear your take. So, Sony just finished absolutely destroying Xbox, so hard that Xbox completely gave up on the whole console hardware race and is launching its games everywhere. So what does Sony do? Kick back and relax? Nope, it's coming for Nintendo, boys. Oh yeah, this one's crazy. So check this out. about? We've all been hearing rumors about a new PlayStation handheld for ages, right? I mean, the Vita's been gone for a minute, and people have been begging Sony to bring back that PSP magic for years. But now, there's a bit more substance to the rumor. Bloomberg just dropped a report saying that Sony might actually be working on a new handheld to go head-to-head with Nintendo's Switch. According to the report, this new device is still in the early stages, so don't expect it to launch anytime soon. Kinda like Microsoft's rumored portable, this thing might not even see the light of day if it gets scrapped. But with the huge success of the Switch and all the hype building around its successor, we wouldn't be shocked if Sony jumped back into the handheld game and took a swing at Nintendo. So what's this PSP gonna be about? According to Bloomberg, it's gonna be based on the PlayStation Portal. But here's the twist. It's not just going to be a cloud streaming machine like some people expected. Nope, this thing will play PS5 games natively without needing to rely on the cloud. So don't get your hopes up for a bunch of exclusive handheld games like Tearaway or Uncharted Golden Abyss. It sounds like Sony's going full throttle with PS5 games on the go, and man, can you imagine the drama if both Sony and Microsoft jump into the handheld market? The Switch 2 is gonna have a way tougher time dominating the space if that happens. But to be fair, even if these rumors are true, it's probably gonna be a couple of years before Sony and Microsoft make any real noise. That gives the Switch 2 a solid window to run things on its own. But still, this is gonna get interesting. What do you think? Is Sony making the right move, or is Nintendo's handheld crown untouchable?
But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory.